Why is the increase in the news of Bitcoin gone? What is the purpose of drawing the door? If you are interested in this question, please follow me. Let's take a look at the daily chart. We can observe these 3K lines. And we can clearly find out what we were doing before. The rise caused by the news was completely swallowed up by the next two drops, which caused our rise to return to its original shape. Our current price is basically the same as our price before the rise, which is very exaggerated. Before the market happened, we reminded you when we were in the video. You are also very welcome to watch the video we released yesterday. At that time, we reviewed it many times. When the bullish news happened, his follow-up market, is there a way to continue this wave of bulls? In fact, many times, if this wave of rise is completely triggered by the news, then after the news is released, our wave of rise has actually come to an end. And it is almost the same. You can see us before, after the news was released, while burst into one, and then it slowly fell back until we hit a new low. In fact, we are currently walking in a very similar market. Especially you can find the low point created by the tip of our falling needle. It is lower than the original jumping point before the rise. So we can also fully declare that this wave of rise is completely a fake rise from the naked K. This rise is entirely due to the influence of the news. In fact, we are in the past. We reviewed for you several times the rise caused by the influence of the news. In fact, in the end, there was no way for him to have a long-term continuity. Basically, after the news was released, the rise was over and the market was over. So when we encountered this when there is news, we must never rush in. For example, because the news is rising, we will rush in and go long. This is a very, very dangerous behavior. And if we look at it from the data level, we can do it. It is clear that during the rise, someone opened a long position. We can take a look. If we see the data, we can find that we cut it to the 1 hour level. When this wave of rise occurs, you can find our position below. The increase in volume is very sharp, and the rate of increase is very steep, which means that someone has indeed opened a position during this wave of rise. And we can also know this wave of opening positions from the subsequent market and changes in open interest. You can find out what is the follow-up result of many people's follow-up market. When Bitcoin fell back by 1,000 knives, it had some shocks. At this time, you can find that the position has also fallen, which means that this wave is actually long. He can distinguish two groups of people. One kind of people is short and long. That is, he just opens a position and eats for a while, and then he leaves immediately. Then this group of people will also follow suit when Bitcoin drops by $1,000. We continued to close positions. When we oscillated, even though we had already fallen back by $1,000, there were still a lot of people who did not leave. During the sharp decline, they did not leave the market until when were they forced to leave the market? Why are they forced to leave the market? Because during this wave of decline, the rate of decline was very fast and our positions, the volume is also falling sharply at a very, very steep rate. Which can mean that this group of people will either be stopped out or their positions will be liquidated. These are the only two possibilities. They are not actively closing their positions. If they are actively closing their positions, the decline of the position will not grow like this. It will appear more slowly. And the decline in this form must be stopped or the position will be liquidated. So we are in this position during this wave of decline. Many short-term people have left. So in this position, what about doing this kind of long-term? He thinks this wave of rising is a trend. Many people have their positions liquidated or stopped. And you can find that the current market is actually cleaned up. We are in this wave. When it is rising, this wave of rising actually, if we open the chart of Bitcoin in the past year or the past 3 or 4 years, you can find that this wave of rising is also very prominent, including the fullness of its rising rate and the amount of energy. It is outstanding. So he can force many shorts to leave the market, such as stop loss, liquidation. In our current decline, he will actually wipe out many longs. You can find him in the market now. The position has dropped to a very, very low position. If we look at the position, we can clearly find that the current position of Bitcoin has reached a new low in the past 1 or 2 months. It is such an exaggerated level because the number of people who have left the table or open positions has decreased. So I think that if we want to make another move in the future, we will have to wait for the accumulation of positions. If the positions accumulate, then the main force of the dealer, will he have someone who can cut it? Then the market will start at this time. If we look at the market from a technical perspective, we can find that the most important support below is actually at the position of 25,000 in the place of 25,000. Next, if we come to the low point of this position again, for example, or the low point of this position, then I would think that we will fall below 25,000. Why? Rapid downward pressure means that our supply at the top is very, very strong. Since the supply is very strong, the support below us will appear to be very weak. Then if we review the past market, we can find that if we look at the previous wave of rise, it is actually very similar to our current situation. There are 2 arc-shaped bottoms here, and then we are at 25,000. After the position suffered a very, very sharp drop, and then immediately stretched and stretched, we took advantage of the trend and broke through. If we copy the K line, for example, we copy it from here to here. What should we do? We need to transfer it come over. I want to turn around. And then we will pull this market to our current market. If we compare the position of 25,000, you can find that our wave is rising and then falling sharply. It is very similar to the current wave of market we are going ahead. And the 2 waves we are going ahead of us are actually very, very similar to the 2 waves we are going at this position. I would think that it will fall back to our original position so quickly at present. The position of 260,000 can mean that if we come back here to test again, there is a very, very high probability that he will fall below. However, the current short sentiment is indeed a little bit strong. When the accumulation of positions and the fund rate slowly return to normal, then we will have a relatively violent decline. And then we will go directly below our 25,000 or so. Well, let us go back to a relatively small level. Let's take a look at it in 1 hour. If you look at it in 4 hours, you can find that we are now back to the place where we were in shock. So this wave of rising is definitely completely invalid. It completely failed. And the position of his falling acceleration is actually the same as ours. The place mentioned in yesterday's video is exactly the same as the upper edge of our entire cabinet. There is a certain degree of interchange at this place. When we fall below, you can find that our subsequent decline is very, very violent. Some people may say that the volume performance of this wave of decline is not as strong as that of our previous wave of rise here. So I would think that the impact of this kind of news can indeed allow some retail investors to make a large amount of money in a short period of time. Buying, but the power of these buying is not long-lasting, because it is entirely due to the influence of the news. So even if the decline here is not too large, I still think that this wave of decline is effective and he directly continuing our previous trend. We can never say that it is unreasonable at the point where it rebounded. If we pull up the whole wave of decline, we will start from this position. That is, we will calculate the most violent decline of our whole wave. In fact, you can find that it is a very perfect 0.618 rebound needlepoint position. It is perfectly touched. Thank you very much. If you want to participate in these trading opportunities, you are very welcome to use the Bybit chain below. In conclusion, now as long as KYC deposits $100, you can immediately get $1,000 worth of Bitcoin contract positions. And this is a real contract position. That is, as long as you make money, you can directly withdraw the coins and leave. Thank you so much for the free space. Bye-bye.